Hey, everybody. Welcome to this 46th episode of the REBT Advocates with Dr. Michael R. Adelstein and me, Tommy Bateman. Today, we have a special guest, a CBT REBT therapist. His name is Ross Grossman. He's coming to discuss a very important topic about getting people to do the homework, right? One of the most important things in REBT. One of the first mistakes that we make is not assigning homework. Ross Grossman, he is a licensed marriage and family therapist. Find him at affinitytherapyservices.com. Again, that's affinitytherapyservices.com. We're going to put a link to his website down here. So, Michael, why don't you introduce him better than I just did?
Okay. I wanted to thank you, Tommy, and thank you, Ross, to give us the honor of having you on our podcast. And Ross works closely with REBT and CBT and is very familiar with REBT. But Ross, a while back, you sent me an email asking me about making it more likely that a client is going to comply with doing the 3-minute exercises. Yes. And I gave you some suggestions, so why don't I tell everyone what they were, and then we'll all chime in and give our opinions, ask questions, things like that. So I've noticed with REBT therapists in particular, since those are the ones I work with, that they have a number of problems, as you mentioned, Ross, in getting their clients to do 3-minute exercises. So I have basically 4 points that might be useful. The first one is to use yourself as a role model. And by that, what I mean is, what I do is I write out 2 3-minute exercises on myself every morning without fail, since I'm as crazy as anyone else, so I have lots of musts and shoulds to work on. And then I tell my clients that I do that to illustrate that the importance of doing it and serving as an incentive to them. Also, starting in the first session, I emphasize how important it is to write out the exercises, how important practice, reinforcement, review, going over these again and again and again is essential to changing. And I illustrate with various anecdotes or analogies, such as learning a foreign language. If you wanted to learn French, you wouldn't go to Paris and then start learning there, then it would be a little late. You'd practice French every day for a few months at least, and then when you go to Paris, you already have some French in your head. So it's important to do it on a regular basis, not at the moment of crisis when you're having a panic attack. That's one of the worst times to do it, one of the most difficult times to do it.
So,
also,
Ross, I'm curious. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Michael. What is going on with you with your clients right now? Like, or what are you experiencing? The problem that's.
Well, a lot of folks just think, well, let's just do a verbal ABC together here in the office. That works. That's nice for me, and that makes it more alive for me. And I do that. I will say, though, however, that since Michael has introduced these concepts, I do have the pad of paper, and I've always tried to put the pad of paper in their hand, but there is a part of me that at times has said, well, let's give this person a little time to get used to the concepts. Let's not throw the paper into their hands right away. Let's let them feel that I'm compassionate, that I care about them. And I do know that, yes, you don't have to necessarily have a warm, fuzzy feeling about your therapist to change, but I find that a lot of folks that come to therapy want a little bit of that there's a sort of an expectation that I'm going to care and be empathic. And I know that we can do that at the same time as REBT, but I guess it's been my own bias that believes that let's ease them into the water. Let's not jump right into the pad of paper and the pen.
Okay. By the way, Russ, you just mentioned the ABC exercises. Another point I make to therapists is that the reason I call them 3-minute exercises is to highlight that they don't take that long. Now, I do tell clients early in therapy that when you first start doing it, it might take 10 or 15 minutes. That's understandable. But as you get the knack and learn how to do it, and see that the structure is always the same from one 3-minute exercise to the other. It's just the content that's different. Then they normally can get it down to 3 to 5 minutes. And if they're still having problems, I give them further suggestions like don't write so much at E, although a lot of clients don't write enough at E. And then finally, early in the therapy, the first or second session, we do 1 or 2 3-minute exercises together to get them on the road so they see how things are going. So those are the main ideas.
And yes, I do talk with them about that. And I did have a client just the other day who said, I can't do this in 3 minutes. And I said, are you perhaps saying that you must do an excellent job in 3 minutes? That it must be a superior and it must wipe out all your upsets in the 3 minutes? And we disputed that together and said, look, it's okay to do a mediocre mediocre 3-minute exercise is better than 0 3-minute exercises.
Right. Have you had any problems with any of these principles in applying them to clients, or did you have any questions about any of them?
Again, it's just having the client who shows up the next week. We agreed now we're going to do at least 1, if not 2, ABCs per morning, or 3-minute exercise. I'm used to saying ABCs. 1 or 2 3-minute exercises every morning. Yes, I'm in agreement. We'll get that done. Okay. Next week comes, they come to therapy. I didn't do it. And that's the biggest issue. And then I suppose the next step would be going, okay, let's talk about the thought process when you came to the, oh, well, I just never even thought about it. Now, I do share my struggle with the 3-minute exercises, because despite the fact that I'm absolutely dedicated to REBT and CBT, and I'm very, very rigorous with it in terms of my patients, I balk also at writing my 3-minute exercises. And so I share that with the clients, that even with all of my experience and all of my belief in this, I also resist and say this should not be so, I should not make this much effort to stay healthy. And so I share that to let them know it is a should or a must that they may, that may arise for them if they're doing the ABCs, that I shouldn't have to do this.
I really like that, how you said I should not have to put this much effort in to stay healthy, but we wouldn't even say that when it comes to our physical health. I mean, we kind of accept if we're couch potatoes and we're, we acting couch potatoly, to be semantically precise, that if we're not working out and we're not eating right, then the likely case is you're not going to be physically healthy. So what's the difference with your muscle mind? It's no different at all. So
Right.
I am curious, Ross, let's say your more resistant clients, your males, let's say, that do resist this and kind of went, look, I agree. It's true. Unconditional acceptance is true. I get it. And it completely intellectually consent or assent to the REBT principles. Do you see any improvement in them that if they don't do the exercises?
While they're in the office and we go through them together, they have noticeable relief.
Yeah.
And it's just that they're not willing to. Now, I do use a couple of metaphors that are getting some of them to get off their, to push their ass.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is, I talk about, lifting weights. I say, do you tell me that you've lifted all your weights in 1976 and you're done now? Are you complete with your weightlifting because you did it all at one time? No, it's a regimen, it's hygiene, it's a regular discipline. I talk about police training, Army training, EMT training. You have to drill when there isn't a crisis so that you can, jump into it once there is a crisis.
As a former police officer, you're really speaking my language right now. I love it. So yeah, automatic response, automatic emotional and intellectual response. That's what we should train into ourselves. That's fantastic. Yeah.
I had 2 friends in New York. One was from Italy and the other was from Taiwan. They both came to the US as an adult. And they both told me at different times that since they've been in the US and largely speaking English, their native language got rusty. So it shows the importance of practice repetition, even if you have a good day or a good work week, to write out the exercises. Also,
I'm sorry. I did
Ross,
want to ask.
yeah, go on.
Some of them say, but I didn't feel bad this week.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't have any consequences or emotions or behaviors that needed correcting this week.
Yeah. So in that case, what they could do is take recurrent problems they've had in the past, even though they've been doing well, because we're really going for overlearning. We would like to overlearn the fictions in the musts and shoulds, awfuls, terribles, and self-condemnations, and overlearn the preferences. So the more you do it, the better. And another point is that since we're imperfect humans with imperfect brains, our brains tend to manufacture musts and shoulds. So if you're doing well for a while, the musts and shoulds, the demands are likely to come back. So that's another reason to do it on a regular basis. However, I try to be flexible and say, well, if you'd like to try to do it every other day or once a week, and if some of the problems come back, then you can start doing them more frequently again. So you could experiment if you'd like to, and you'd like to risk some of these problems coming back. So that's another way to look at it.
Now, I do have another question for both of you. I have some clients who are very depressed when they come in and say to me, when I am forced to look at my thoughts, it makes me more depressed. So doing your exercises, your 3-minute exercises, is making me more depressed because it's making me think about something that I want to be distracted from, which is, for example, my loss of income, my financial struggles, my lack of a career situation right now. It's so depressing to me that I don't want to think about it. And by you making me think about it, you're actually making me more depressed.
Well, in that case, first of all, you can reinforce the BC connection. That means it's your belief about looking at it, not looking at it itself, that's making you more depressed. So what's your must, what's your should, and often it's something like, I must not have these problems, it's awful. I must not be reminded of these problems, I can't stand it. Or I shouldn't still have these problems, I should be over it by now. So they could do 3-minute exercises on getting depressed about the 3-minute exercises.
Mm-hmm.
Another point there is that the most important thing about doing the 3-minute exercises or any other cognitive exercises or behavioral exercises we suggest is that they're meaningful to the client and the client thinks they're useful. So if someone doesn't find that writing out the irrational belief or the activating event helps, so another option is just for them to write out the E's, because that's the better way to look at it anyway. So I help my clients tailor the 3-minute exercise to what works for them.
So you would say that someone could skip over the beliefs and the disputes and go straight to the effective new thoughts, effective new philosophy.
Exactly. And sometimes my clients like to call that affirmations. If they want to call it that, that's fine. And some of my clients just write out rational beliefs every day that they find useful. So really, this isn't a religion that they have to do it the same way every time that's in the scripture. What we suggest in early sessions is what works best for most people most of the time, but of course there's individual variation. Also, another individual variation, Ross, that you reminded me of, where it sounded like you suggest to clients that they do 1 or 2 every day. And what I usually do in the first few sessions when I suggest they write out 3-minute exercises, I say, I know you're very busy and you're stressed for time. What would be a good frequency, given your busy life, for you to do? Would it be 1 a day, 1 every other day, 10 million a day? What works best for you? So I try to ease them into it. And then if they come up with one a week and they're not being helped, then I remind them that maybe one of the reasons is they're not doing it frequently enough. So why don't you try it every other day or every day?
Okay, that sounds like a good game plan.
Ross, as we're discussing this today, I do get oftentimes clients that want to treat me as a massage therapist instead of a counselor, where, come in, make them feel better for the hour they're with me, and then get out, and then they don't do anything in the meantime. I mean, same with the massage therapist. The only time you're feeling better or getting the therapy is when you're actually in the room with the person. And I know a thought that I think would immediately creep to your mind is, is this what they want? They just want the massage session. They just want the venting session, and to be told these truths because they're so intellectually intriguing and it's fun to them. But otherwise, they prefer to feel the way they feel during, and I'm speaking in general terms, prefer to feel the way they feel during the rest of the week. And then when does that tell us, hey, I don't like doing ineffective work. I love your money, but I don't want to do ineffective work. Why not it's time to discontinue services? Any of these thoughts come to your mind?
Oh, so you say that to your clients?
Well, for me, when a client's not participating in the therapy I'm giving them, I say venting's not therapy. You're not doing the work, and I work for the government, so I get paid either way. Haha. And so listen, it's time to end services right now. And if you do some work with me, and you bring some back to me,
yeah,
I'll work with you on it. But otherwise, I think I'm done. So,
and do they often perk up and go, okay, well, let me get to work?
Half the time. Other times they really rather prefer just me to talk to them.
Right.
That's what they want, is companionship and talking, which, I mean, that's great. I'm not downing it, but that's not therapy to me. That's just talking. That's therapeutic. So
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they want you to catch some fish for them, but they don't want to learn how to fish.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah.
Oh, Ross, you had mentioned before we started that you had a few other questions on a somewhat different topic.
Well, I am noticing a fair amount of folks that show up in therapy, at least with me in Los Angeles, that are in their 40s and 50s, males mostly, and who are having serious sort of life crisis about what decisions they've made and the direction they want to go in, regrets for bad or poor decisions. And for some of them, just sort of a sense that their life is over, that they've blown it. And it'd be good to just sort of get an overview of a way to handle those folks who just say, it's too late for me. I've already made some bad decisions, whether it's financial or romantic, and especially also noticeably for people in their 40s, men in the 40s and 50s, there seems to be, at least from their reports, a little harder to start making new friends. And a lot of people in Los Angeles are new to Los Angeles. Hard to make friends, hard to find romantic connections, that it's doubly difficult in their 40s and 50s. So yeah, any kind of helpful hints would be appreciated in that regard.
Yes, someone who says their life is over and they've blown it sounds depressed to me. So yeah. I would teach them REBT and apply it to the 3-minute exercises. And it sounds like some of the demands they might have that's causing their depression is something like, I shouldn't have made such bad decisions in my life. I should be more successful by now. And because I'm not, I'm a loser who has blown it. My life is over. So again, to track it down to their emotions and then what they're telling themselves to cause those emotions. So that would be one of my suggestions.
And one of the things I do as well is, this may not be pure REBT here, but they think they completely blown it in their life. But I mean, that seems like a pretty broad brush distortion there, cognitive distortion, to use a CBT term, where, wait a minute, so your whole entire life just sucked, just was awful. There was nothing good in your life, and you can't say that there were at least some good moments there, and that you've had some accomplishments and things you're proud of. Is that really the case? I mean, I think that's the habit. I think the positive psychology folks would say of people, we're trained or naturally inclined to focus on the negative and not the positive. I know we're actually going to bring our guests back to talk about gratitude and positive psychology techniques that are very REBT focused.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where the approach I would talk about is challenging that cognitive distortion right there of like, it was all bad.
Yeah.
What's your evidence of that? Yeah.
That does raise a very particular question for me, which is when to use counter evidence and when to go with worst case scenario. I tend to prefer helping my clients look at worst case scenario. Like, let's say that's true, that you have in fact blown it for 55 years. Okay. And what's your demand about that for now, for the future, or for right now? But I would like your guys' opinion, your folks' opinion on going to worst case scenario versus counter evidence that says, no, this is a bunch of baloney.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, that's a good point, Ross, because I often give clients particular things to address in their 3-minute exercises that works across 3-minute exercises at E. And one of them is both the worst case scenario. Let's suppose I have blown it, my life is over. Does that make me a loser? Does that mean I should have done better earlier? So that's the worst case scenario. And then also in the same E section, the likely scenario. So as you both have been saying, the likely scenario usually is that I've done some things well, I've done some things poorly, I haven't blown it, I still have a future, etc. So both the worst case scenario and a likely scenario in the same 3-minute exercise. Also, Ross, you had mentioned about making some of these men in their 40s and 50s haven't done too well at relationships, making friends, possibly love relationships. So I start with a problem like that with the problem separation technique. You have practical problems, which we would address with practical problem-solving strategies, and you might have emotional problems about that. You might be depressed, anxious, ashamed, etc. So let's start with to see if you have emotional problems there. And if you do, address those using 3-minute exercises and other cognitive strategies, and then address the practical problems, which is how to make friends, how to get into love relationships, and then teach them various practical strategies, many of them which they may not know, that could help them do that.
Yes. And most of what I am dealing with these patients and clients it's the difficulty, the dead ends. Yeah, I went to that event. It was a total wash. That event, that social event to meet new people. Nobody in LA wants to get to know anybody else, and all of those. Those things. And of course, I do work with them on, are you saying you must, win every time at bat? Are you saying you have to have a 100% hitting the ball, at bat? Even baseball players, if they hit one time in 4, are considered successful.
Right. And also, it's a numbers game. The more people you meet and the more rejections you get, the more likely you are to get an acceptance. So a lot of times these clients will try a few times and nothing works out, and then convince themselves that they're failures because they didn't succeed in the first few times as they must. But if you want to be successful in a relationship, and especially in a love relationship, it means meeting many people and getting many rejections.
Understood.
Hey, so Ross, we're running short on time here. I want to ask you a very pertinent question that I didn't prep you for, so sorry. This show is called the REBT Advocates. Why do you use REBT? Why do you advocate for REBT?
Well, on a very personal level, it's been very effective for me personally. It's it's a lifesaver in my opinion, honestly. The amount of, self-torture and angst and anxiety and, various emotions that arise that previously, therapists that I encountered did a great job, again, of making me feel good in session, but did not give me really the take-home tools to be able to instantly be able to solve my mental and emotional quandaries. And it was truly liberating and relieving in a way to take myself, to stop becoming my own worst enemy and start becoming my own best friend. I really see REBT as kind of a best friend therapy. I see it.
Best friend theory. What do you mean by that? I'm curious.
And by the way, that's the title of my new book. So
Boom.
copyright 2018.
Buy it. Buy it.
Buy it today.
Yes.
I see talking to yourself rationally as an act that a best friend does for you. And I often will tell my patients, okay, at the effective new thoughts, let's talk to yourself the way you would talk to your best friend going through this same situation. Would you in fact say, yes, you are a loser, you are hopeless, or would you start talking rationally and reasonably to them? And so I believe REBT is a form of best friend therapy. It's acting as your best friend and stopping acting as if you're your own worst enemy.
Excellent. We got to have you back on here to plug your book, right? Tell us what that's all about. Jeez, you should have led with that. Holy crap. Anyway, Michael, is there anything you want to say towards the end here?
Yes, I do. And I want to thank you, Ross, for participating and adding to our podcast. I think it was very interesting and useful to therapists and clients alike. So we've been speaking with Ross Grossman of AffinityTherapyServices.com and Tommy Bateman, TheRationalCounselor.com. Is that right, Tommy?
The Rational Dead website now. I killed it.
Okay. And me, Michael Edelstein, 3MinuteTherapy.com. So thanks for joining us. Please give us a like and please subscribe to the REBT Advocates to stay on the rational side of life.